Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
The Kenya Christian Professionals Forum actually did launch a very, very interesting report, the state of life, family, and faith in Kenya.
We have launched this report today, analyzing what is the state of life in Kenya, what are the threats to life in Kenya, and giving policy prescriptions or recommendations.
And this is the first time that Kenya is actually has officially launched a family protection and promotional policy.
This policy will provide an impetus to make sure through social protection we really achieve as a government by empowering the family unit.
The Hifadhi Jamii Bill.
There are certain interpretations that are being proposed for some constitutional clauses that are making our life difficult as pro-life and pro-family agencies. So we are proposing to have this bill. It is called the Hifadhi Jamii Bill.
Welcome to the show, and as always, as I tell you, the Gigi Report is a platform for big, bold, honest conversation on a broad range of subjects. And today we are diving into a socio-dynamic conversation that has to do with our family, the life and faith in this country. I believe this particular conversation is very, very important, especially this family, life, family, and faith report actually addresses three main questions. That is, what is the state of life in Kenya? What are the threats to life in this country? And you're going to hear all about that. And then, of course, the issue of the state of the family. Where are we? How many single female-headed families do we have in Kenya? That is all in this report, and that is addressed. And also the issue of the state of faith in Kenya, threats to freedom of faith. Those issues are addressed in this particular report. So enjoy the conversation, and also always please share with your friends. Remember to leave your comments in the on the social media platform where you're watching from. And I'm sure you have some of the questions you've been having about what is being done about promoting and protecting family and faith in this country. And this is a conversation we all want to get involved in. So welcome to the show. I believe you're going to enjoy. And here we go.
So the report is this document here, a report on the state of life, family, and faith in Kenya. And this document has been generated by looking through a lot of source materials and trying to capture the source materials in a logical format. And it is the second edition. And every year we are doing the report better than the previous year. We are getting additional materials to see what is happening in our country. And this year, for the first time, we've prepared also the summary report so that it is easier to go through the report. So in regard to chapter 1 of the report, we have the highlights about the global population in the world, which is now past 8 billion people. Life expectancy average is about 72 years of age. The population growth rate has been falling, and this is a global phenomenon. The global fertility rate has also been falling from 5 births per woman in 1950 and is now at 2.3 births per woman. And we've also seen that the male-female ratio slightly favors men at 50.3%. We've seen that in Africa, our share of the global population is rising, and the population of Africa is estimated to be 1.4 billion people, which is about 17% of the world population. And it has one of the highest growth rates. The total fertility rate in Africa is higher than the global one. It's at about 4.2 births per woman, which is still a decline from 6.7 births per woman that was recorded in the 1970s. And it is projected to fall further. we are concerned as people of faith who appreciate and value human life that our population has been increasing, but it's been increasing at a decreasing rate, if you understand what I mean. Our rate of population growth has been falling. In fact, Kenya is the country in the East African region with the lowest birth rate and the lowest population growth rate, which is significantly below that of our neighbors. And that is an issue that we are concerned about. Our population in 2022 is estimated to be at about 50.6 million, based on the census, post-census projection, because in 2019 it was 47.6 million based on our census. We notice that when you look at other international records about Kenyan population, they consistently estimate our population at about 54 or 55 million. So the international data sources assume that our census figures are deflated by about 4 or 5 million. But our Kenyan census figures are the ones we are relying on. And the fertility rate of the average Kenyan woman is 3.4 children per woman, which is a decline from 8 births per woman in the 1970s. In chapter 2, we then look at the situation of life. We look at the legal foundation, which is Article 26 of the Constitution. And then we discuss the number of births in Kenya. I'll not go into detail in that. The fertility rate in Kenya. And you can see that graph that is showing the gradual decline of fertility rate. We look at the deaths among both men and women, at what age the deaths occur. We've looked at the infant and child mortality rate. The mortality rates have been declining, which is something to be celebrated. Between 2018 and 2022, the under 5 mortality rate was 41 deaths per 1,000 live births. That is 0.4 rate of infant mortality. That is for under 5, and 0.32 for infant, that is under 1. And that is a decline from what was there before. And the death rates for male children are a bit higher than for female children. Actually, by the time the boys and girls reach the age of 20, the fact that there are more boys born than girls by about 0.3 or 0.4% evens out. And the boys die faster. This is attributed to testosterone. This male hormone causes risk-taking behavior among all males, from when they are babies, when they are children, when they are teenagers, even when they are adults. So this is a global phenomenon, and I don't know whether there is much you can do about it. Diseases like malaria, TB, and so on are causing too many deaths, and this is a health issue that we need to deal with. We have put there possible policy interventions. Then we have non-communicable diseases. These are the lifestyle diseases. These include things like cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on. And in Kenya, non-communicable diseases approximately are the cause of about 39% of deaths in Kenya, which is gone up from 27% in 2014. I don't know whether this is good that you die of non-communicable diseases. We definitely need to improve our mechanisms of early identification of those people who are suffering from non-communicable diseases and more effective treatment, because our life expectancy in Kenya is still below the level of life expectancy in the advanced countries. And so there's a lot of intervention there. And then we've looked at unnatural causes of death. So the natural causes is 54% and 39%. When you add that together, it comes to about 93%. But you have the unnatural causes of death, which are 7%. And these are areas where we can also make policy intervention. This is homicide, that is killings, unlawful killings, suicide. Suicide has become a big problem. We have seen that the African region actually has a higher rate of suicide, a standardized suicide rate than the global rate, which is of great concern, because we assume that many suicides happen in countries like Japan, where they talk about it. But in our countries, this issue, even though there is stigma, we are not talking about it. So we are not therefore putting in place intervention measures. And this is the case also in Kenya. And so one of the things we'll be recommending is a more deliberate focus in terms of policy on how we deal with suicide, the causes of suicide, issues to do with mental health. And I'm delighted that in our presence we have some experts on mental health, like Dr. Ida. We need to focus more in this area. Abortion is a major cause of death. You'll notice that most of the statistics for deaths completely exclude abortion in the statistics. Even when you see this 54%, 39%, they have not included the deaths of the unborn. So the unborn are written off the statistics. They are written off. They are not considered to be part of the statistics of those who have died. In the Penal Code of Kenya, which is an document we got from the British through India, it's an old document, the definition of murder includes the fact that the person you kill must have been born alive. So the victim must be somebody who's already been born. That's the definition of murder. And this was there because there is a different crime called abortion for those who are killed while in the womb. But the separation of the crime of murder for those who have been born, infanticide for those who are a few months old, and abortion has meant that statistics of abortion tend to be excluded. And this is a problem globally. We've not found many data sources that include the statistics for abortion together with other deaths, because when they're included, abortion is one of the major killers of human beings globally. And we've discussed about abortion and also the opinion surveys that have been done about the attitudes on abortion. And in 2020, KCPF partnered with Ipsos Synovate, a very professional opinion polling firm, to do a national opinion survey on the attitudes of Kenya on abortion. And you can see there that in total, 85% of Kenyans are opposed to abortion. 9% say it depends on the situation, and 6% say they support. So we have all those sources of threats to life, road accidents, extrajudicial killings. Then in chapter 3, we are dealing with the family sphere, the situation of the family in Kenya. We've noticed that the size of the family, the household, from the statistics of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, has been falling, and the average family size in Kenya is 3.8 household size, which is, if you assume an ideal family has a father and a mother, that means if there is a father and a mother, on average, less than 2 children. Or if it is a single parent household, then 2-point-something children. So the average family size is also down. And we've also looked at the statistics on marriage, at the children who are born outside wedlock, and so on. And all that data is found there. And I will expect that we will all review it and see possible policy interventions. Recently, the National Council for Administration of Justice sent a proposed bill to Parliament where they were seeking to have prostitution decriminalized. And here we've identified prostitution as one of the threats to the family, explicit sex education, pornography, teenage pregnancy. We've also identified homosexuality, and we are very aware and alive to the fact that the Supreme Court made a decision this year that claimed that our constitution does not allow discrimination, in quotes, on the basis of sexual orientation. So we did a survey in 2020 with Ipsos, which is showing that about 90% of Kenyans are opposed to homosexual behavior in Kenya. And there's an additional 1% who did not give their position, and only 9% favor legalization of homosexuality in Kenya. So those are documents or data that can assist in policy interventions. Finally, chapter 4, we've discussed the faith, walking and talking the faith. Most Kenyans are people of religious affiliation. About 85% of the population identify as Christians. About 10.9% identify as Muslim. And then other religious faiths take up an additional about 2%. So that in total, 97 to 98% identify as people of the faith. And threats to the faith include cultism and religious extremism. We saw what happened in Shakahola, a tragedy early this year. We've seen instances of violent extremism identified to people of religion. We've discussed secularism, which is an attempt to remove religion from the public space, state regulation, if not properly managed, and also the importance of interfaith practices to improve religious tolerance. So when there is restriction on interfaith practices, we feel that is an issue. And finally, we've discussed some of the things that KCPF has done in this area. We are appealing to all of us here to support life, family, and faith by engaging in advocacy and resourcing, witnessing and networking, leadership and counseling. And for us as a Kenya Christian Professionals Forum, we welcome Christian professionals to join our organization. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a summary of this report. The summarized report has the summary, and the big report has much more data presented here. And this data is meant to challenge us. In what areas can we engage for purpose of advocacy intervention?
In this particular forum, there was a presentation on the family, what we call the family protection and promotion of policy. This is a policy that was actually approved by the cabinet of the government cabinet on 3rd of October. And this is the first time that Kenya is actually has officially launched a family protection and promotional policy approved by the government, the current government. And so there is a presentation on what that policy contains.
So I'll go to the background and emphasis of the national policy on family promotion and protection. And as we are all aware that the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 4, Article 45 recognizes the family as a natural and fundamental unit of society, and therefore it requires to be recognized and protected by the state. And what is our vision in the policy and mission? The vision is happy and stable families for a strong society. And the mission in there is the overall goal is actually to provide an environment that recognizes and facilitates family well-being. You can see the emphasis. You've heard the statistics. We really appreciate the data we are getting. An environment that recognizes and facilitates family well-being and empowers families to participate in the socioeconomic development of the country. Even with our regime that is right now in power, when we talk about the better agenda, we can see that the unit at the bottom of the economy is the family. That is where production, that is where consumption happens, that is where disease strikes. And so with our mandate on social protection, which is an enabler in achieving the 5 strategic pillars, in the better, then we are saying this policy will provide an impetus to make sure through social protection we really achieve as a government by empowering the family unit. So the mission is to promote and protect families through innovative policies, strategies, programs, projects, and services that strengthen society. We all appreciate that every family is unique, just the way every child is unique. So we have to be very innovative so that we can meet the diverse needs of the families that we have in Kenya today. These are some of the definitions in the policy. where we know an extended family. We are talking about multi-generational family, and they may not necessarily share the same household. How many are living with their grandparents in Nairobi, for example? They are part of the extended family, and some are very far. I can see it's actually, we said it's international, global. Yeah, with marriages now, we have relatives all over the globe, right? So we are looking at that kind of extended family and how to make sure that family is cohesive and is protected. So family enrichment, the combination of people and materials aimed at providing parents with pedagogical ideas, innovative ideas on how to really educate their children at their different stages. I will not go through all of them, but I want to also talk about family promotion, because that is what we are going to be doing when we are implementing the policy. We will be able to make deliberate process of giving families the necessary opportunities, relationships. You can see KCPF, we really appreciate your multi-sectoral kind of approach to how you really want to execute your mandate, because relationships, families will need religious nourishment, they'll need counseling, psychosocial support, they'll need to grow economically. And so that is the approach we are saying when we talk about family promotion, providing those necessary networks. We can go to the next slide. Family resilience, that is important to talk about, the ability of families to withstand and rebound from disruptive life challenges. Let's go to the next. Marriage, the policy recognizes that it is a voluntary union of man and woman, whether in a monogamous or polygamous union. A Christian, Hindu, civil marriage, we know those are monogamous, and then we know that there is the customary and Islamic, which are polygamous or potentially polygamous. In our constitution, we are saying in the preamble that we are proud of our ethnic diversities, and we are determined to live in peace and unity as one indivisible nation. So we would like all our families, in whatever marriages they are in line with the constitution, to really thrive, So we also recognize in the policy that the primary educator, and in this case we are talking about the principal, foremost provider of instruction and education. And the parent, the caregiver, there comes in very strong to be the primary educator of the children we have. So a healthy family, a family characterized by good interpersonal relationships and a good state of physical, mental, spiritual, and social well-being among all members. We've had the highlights of the report that is going to be launched today, and you can see the threats to family. And that is why we will endeavor to work together, government and stakeholders, to make sure we realize that vision of these healthy families, happy and stable families for a strong society. Let's go to the next slide, kindly. The building blocks. We have 5 building blocks in the national policy on family and on family promotion and protection. One of them is family values. We would like to really put an emphasis on these values that are really in the policy. And we are talking about the moral and ethical principles when you talk about family values, which are upheld and transmitted within the family. The family values advocated in this policy include family unity, family care, inclusiveness of all, selflessness, self-mastery, honor to God, resilience, joy, and courage. The other building block is protection of the vulnerable, and this policy will ensure the protection of vulnerable members of the family against all form of discrimination, violence and abuse. We look at the highlights of the interventions that Not all of them, but the ones we think are key for attention this morning to our stakeholders. And then there is family education and empowerment, where parents and caregivers are the primary educators and empowerment agents of the children. Then family cohesion, the policy is stating that this is founded on the unity of the spouses. The first thematic area will shortly go there. It's about marriage. We have about 10 thematic areas. So what are we saying? That family cohesion extends to the children when they see unity demonstrated by their parents. And this is what they carry out to school. This is what is carried out and extended to the extended family, to the community, to churches, to mosques. So marriage is really the foundation, and having that relationship strong, then it is a very good building block for a family that has social order for us to achieve what we want at the society level. Then the last building block is security, and we are saying that families thrive in an environment that assures them of security from all forms of exploitation. Security, peace of mind is very key. There's a whole thematic area on family safety and security. Next slide, kindly. We have about 7 guiding principles, and these are strong marriages, where marriages are essential for the stability of families and society's well-being. And we are saying that the government, in partnership with stakeholders, will make efforts to promote and strengthen marriages. We'll see the interventions on how to do this within your respective mandates. Then responsible parenting, family stability hinges on responsible parenting. We are raising future parents, and so this is a very key intervention, and we have already developed a national positive parenting program, an intervention, and a parenting to be able to equip parents with knowledge, skills, beliefs, attitudes that will help them really take up their parenting role, as in line with even our Children Act of 2022, where we know that section 2 and part 3 talks about parental care and parental responsibility. Then family diversity, recognize the diversity of families. Yeah, every family is unique. And family resilience, the inherent capacities and strengths that sustain them in times of prosperity as well as adversity. I've always wondered, like you'd see a father very drunk somewhere in the village, and out of that family, you see a reverend born there and a doctor, and somehow is rehabilitated within the family. You've seen that. It happens. Even some of us our background, somehow family resilience, there's that thing that makes the family be a going concern if it is business, it doesn't die. So that is what you're saying. Community participation, we recognize that the family is part and parcel of the society. So we would like to sensitize the communities to make every effort and support the family unit. Human rights, they come in handy, where we are talking about the basic, human rights to be upheld, to make sure that there's no discrimination, and protect the rights of every member, especially the vulnerable ones in the family. And then partnerships, it's all multi-sectoral approach in the implementation of the policy. Next slide, please. So we get into the 10 thematic areas, and here allow me to take us through. These are the objectives. We have about six objectives in the policy. Number 1 is to enhance the caring, nurturing, and supportive capabilities of families. That is an objective. We would like to see our families more caring, more nurturing, and more supportive. They have the capability to do that. Number two, would like to develop the capacities of families to establish social interactions that contribute towards promoting a sense of community, cohesion, and national solidarity. So that cases of homicide, suicide, you know, when you know that people around you, you are part and parcel of the community, you will care and someone will care about you. Then empower families and their members by enabling them to identify, negotiate, and maximize socioeconomic and other opportunities available. Empowerment of the family unit, very important.
All right, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. I hope so far you've enjoyed and you've learned something in this particular conversation. All right, let's take a break. All right, welcome back. I take you back to the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum, this launch of the State of the Family, Live Family and Faith Report. Let's continue with the conversation. I believe you're learning something. So join us and enjoy this conversation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the role of the church is critical for the thriving of families. As a platform with the representation of a number of churches, we urge KCPF to encourage the faith-based organizations they represent to establish, scale up, and strengthen programs that promote the family. My ministry will continue to provide the requisite leadership to ensure integrated approach to the delivery of family promotion and protection services. Let this good work continue as you support government alongside other partners in providing the needed assistance until we realize the vision of loving, safe, and thriving families where children realize their full potential. I look forward to the content and recommendations of this report. Okay, I've been given the opportunity to launch the report on the state of life, family, and faith in Kenya 2022-2023 is hereby officially launched.
We had a special presentation, and that was on the Hifadhi Jamii Constitutional Amendment Bill and petition to Parliament. As you very well know, there are many threats to the family and you know, faith in this country, and there has been a conversation about amending the constitution, and so there is a presentation on a bill, and you're going to hear what that bill is all about.
This is an initiative by faith-based organizations, and we decided that we are not going to launch the bill before we do sufficient stakeholder participation among faith-based organizations. So once we agree on this issue, we are going to engage with the members of National Assembly. We'll also engage with other government agencies. What we are saying is that the foundation for everything that we are doing, the family policy, even the proposed family protection bill that has been drafted by a private member in the National Assembly, Honorable Peter Kaluma, all those are founded on the Constitution. And for the lawyers in our presence and those other experts on the law, we know that there are certain interpretations that are being proposed for some constitutional clauses that are making our life difficult. as pro-life and pro-family agencies. So we keep having to engage even on debate about whether our constitution respects the right to life. Even when the constitution says life of a person begins at conception, there is another provision that talks about abortion not being permitted except in certain instances. Is now being misused to try and create a situation of abortion on demand, even after a constitution that says life begins at conception. The same with the issues of family. Even though our constitution says marriage is for two persons of the opposite sex, there are now attempts to interpret sex to mean not sexual identity as male and female, but sexual orientation. So LGBT is trying to come in through those measures. And unfortunately, on 24th of February this year, the Supreme Court, by a majority of one judge, 3-2, adopted a definition of sex that includes orientation, going against the intention of the people of Kenya. So what happens when the constitution is interpreted wrongly is that you can clarify it, either through another court case that may take time to reach the court and you have to persuade the same judges, or by amending the constitution. So we are proposing to have this bill. It is called the Hifadhi Jamii Bill. Initially, we were calling it Linda Jamii, but we went to engage our friends even in parliament, including the speaker, and they advised us that we use a name that gives the perspective, not just of protecting, but of also nurturing. And so we are calling it the Hifadhi Jamii Constitutional Amendment Bill. And what we want to do is, once we finish on the stakeholder participation, we will get Kenyans to support the bill by collecting signatures. We intend, however, to use the parliamentary route at the moment, because we are persuaded that we can get a 2/3 majority in both houses of parliament. Parliament have expressed repeatedly their support for family values in their debates, even after the Supreme Court judgment, and even for the respect for the right to life. So the first provision is a short title, which is calling it Hifadhi Jamii Bill. And then we are proposing to amend Article 2 of the Constitution. Article 2 of the Constitution is the one that provides for the sources of law in Kenya. And we like those sources of law, but there is some ambiguity regarding international law. Some people go and look for interpretations of international law that are contested, and they come and bring them and they say, based on this interpretation, your constitution should accept, for example, LGBT or abortion or any of those things that are contrary to our values. So we want to amend Article 2, where it says international law is a source of law, and to add the phrase insofar as it is not inconsistent with the Constitution and the laws of Kenya. So that if somebody proposes a certain law that was declared somewhere else that goes against our Constitution, we Kenyans have adopted our Constitution. It cannot come into effect and become and contradict our Constitution. So that is the proposal. And then we have found that in Article 10 of our Constitution, we have very good national values. But those national values do not talk about our values of family and of respect for life. So we are proposing to add in our national values the value of sanctity of human life as one of our national values. And there is also a proposal that we consider adding respect or nurturing of the family, which is what we are discussing here. So that if this appear in Article 10 of our Constitution, all the other provisions in our Constitution will be interpreted in line with those additional values. In Article 24, which is the article that has to do with limitation of human rights, we are saying that apart from the limitations that have been put there, what is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society, we should consider adding that rights may be limited for the benefit, the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. What this means is that those who push a liberal agenda, they are always using human rights language. And they say this right is absolute. My right to associate is absolute. For example, you must allow us as, say, LGBT people or people who want to engage in pornography to do the pornography because that's my freedom of expression. And we are saying that these rights have to be limited for the benefit or the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. So that would be a principle to add to the other principles there, upon which you will assess, are you exercising your rights properly? Are they helping you as an individual? Are they good for the family? The other proposal is to amend Article 26, which is the one that has paragraph 4 that says abortion shall not be permitted unless, and then it gives a lot of exceptions, including where a written law allows. It allows basically an act of parliament or any other legislation to amend the constitutional respect for the life of the unborn. So the proposal is to delete the word abortion, first of all, and replace it with the phrase deliberate termination of pregnancy, to avoid the confusion between legal and medical terms that has been there in our law. And then in addition, to insert the word medical before opinion in regard to Article 26. And then in Article 32, we have seen that there is a provision, paragraph 3, that may affect the right of people of faith to engage in faith-based activities. And there is a proposal to revise the provision, a person shall not be denied access to employment in any institution or facility because of the person's belief or religion, to exclude places of worship, because places of worship are organized based on a person's belief or opinion. And then the next provision is Article 33. We are aware that Article 33 on freedom of expression provides exceptions. There are 4 exceptions to freedom of expression, like advocacy of hate speech or hatred. We are aware that in the Naivasha draft, there was also a clause to exclude freedom of expression in cases of pornography, lewd or indecent behavior. Unfortunately, this was removed at the last minute from the final draft that became the Constitution. And we found that that ambiguity is making people promote pornography, and the tools that are given to the government to fight pornography, which is so harmful of our society, have been weakened. So we are proposing to bring that express limitation to freedom of expression. It doesn't extend to matters of pornography or lewd or indecent behavior. This will better secure what is already in our penal code. Finally, we have 2 more proposed amendments. Article 36 on freedom of association, based on the Supreme Court judgment that was issued in February, the government is being now compelled to register any organization that wants to promote even things that are opposed to our national values. So we are proposing to add an amendment that says the government shall not be compelled to register any organization whose objects promote or support illegal conduct. So if our penal code, for example, says you cannot engage in prostitution, you cannot compel the government to register an organization that you are saying is to support the rights of people who engage in prostitution, because it is promoting illegal conduct. And then Article 45, the one on marriage, already it says marriage is between persons of opposite sex. But that has seemed not to be enough for those who are promoting a different kind of relationship. So we are proposing to add that marriage or union between persons of the same sex is prohibited, to put it in the Constitution. Not just marriage, but any kind of union between persons of the same sex. And then Article 260 is the article on definitions. Because there has been confusion about what sex means, we want to put the definition of sex in Article 260, which means the biological state of being male or female. And we debated a lot about this, and we thought that because intersex is a condition that is caused at birth. We cannot ignore intersex, otherwise our amendment will exclude a small fragment of the Kenyan people. These are not people who are changing their sex, but people who are born with genitalia that is ambiguous. So we said means the biological state of being male or female, because everyone is male or female, but it also includes those who are intersex, but it does not include sexual attraction, orientation, or behavior. So that when we talk of sex, we are talking about the state of being male or female. We are not talking about what you do. When we say you will not be discriminated on the basis of sex, we are referring to sexual identity. We are also putting a definition of unborn child, a definition of gender, and the definition of intersex as well as conception. So those are the proposals for the amendment of the constitution in the Hifadhi Jamii Bill.
Keza watu wetu katika mseto wa ndoa. Na upande ingine, the same government inatoa inatuvuta 3 steps forward 5 steps back. Natuambia hawa watu tunawahimiza, come let us be together. Tunawahimiza ndoa, waoane, waishi pamoja kwa heshima na adabu na mapenzi. Kisha na tunajaribu kufanya haya mambo yao kwa usahali na urahisi. Kisha directive inatoka kwenyu bado tena inasema kwa hii ndoa, kwa hii amri yenu pia vikwazo kadhaa. Do you get me? I think nimekuwa clear. So how can we go about it? Because pia hii gharama inaweza kachangia kutofanikisha malengo hayo ambayo tumeikalia baina sisi na nyinyi katika kuazimia. La pili ni kwamba my good mentor here, mzee mwenzangu, my big brother, said that zamani mtoto alikuwa ni wa society. Siku hizi mtoto ni individual. Mtoto ni wangu, si wetu. Lakini unakuta kwamba mtoto akiwa ni wetu, nitakuwa na haki naye, akikosea nitamrekebisha. Lakini akiwa ni wako, wewe uishi naye saa yote, hata akikosea hana wa kumwangalia. And it is the same system, the same law that implements all this. How can we go about it? What can your ministry or your department do to rectify such kind of things? Because mtoto akiwa ni wa society. I had a case. Shule zilipofungwa the other days when the school were being closed, tuliletewa vijana wetu kama 7 wamelewa walipokuwa wanatoka shule. But Madam Esther, mtoto ungefanya nini? Si wako. Si wako. Sasa hata askari walituita, wanatuambia hata sisi we cannot do anything because even we cannot lock them. Kisheria hakuna makosa wamefanya, but morally it's a decay. Umenipata? But you see, upande moja society inasema ni vibaya, upande mwingine sheria inasema nini? It's all right. We have nothing to do about it. And here we are saying that we should uphold the status of our society so that this special moral fabric isichanike. Mwalimu wangu wa saikolojia alikuwa akituambia, the family, a good family begots a better society. And at the end of the day, the better society inazaa ama inaleta mseto wa sorry for that. It begets a great nation. So hata tuimbe ngoma ina gani, ikiwa huu mseto wa familia itakuwa hatujafikia, haijapata malengo na dhamiria zake, then this nation can never be great. Because tutakuwa tumemiss target from the starting point. So the good work is there. But hizi sheria zingine zinakata, zingine zinajenga. Na zote zinatoka from the central place. I'd really like us mtuelekeze how we can overturn those tables. I think I'm done with that. And then there's one thing. Just a minute, please. How many of you were born here in Nairobi? or particularly born in Pumwani Maternity Hospital? Wangapi wamezaliwa hapa Nairobi ama Pumwani Maternity Hospital? Don't be shy. Maana hapo ndio familia zetu zilianza, sio? We should be proud of it. I'm humble and I'm very happy to tell you that I'm a board member of Pumwani Maternity Hospital, and we are trying to change that perspective ya kwamba ndio pali family setup inaanza. Kwa hivyo very soon tutakuwa tunawaalika katika Pumwani's Child Day. Kwa hivyo nawaalika in advance muhudhurie. But our dear leaders here, ningependa sana muangazia yale mambo nimeaguzia, because once we miss the family setup, then hizi zingine zinabakia kuwa sifa. Thank you.
We thank God that this forum is being used to challenge us, educate us, and remind us of how it all began in Genesis. That God created family, and that through that one family, all of us today are seated here. Recently, I started going through the book of Genesis, every chapter, to understand again the origin. And it amazes me how we have come to where we are. When I read about the sons of Noah, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, and I began to understand again the representatives, the different representatives. And I realized that, they said when Ham discovered the uncovering of his father Noah, Noah cursed Canaan. And I was asking myself, what did Canaan do? Canaan was just a child, a son to Ham. So Ham was the one that committed the offense. Why did Noah leave the fellow who was the real culprit and had to curse the son? And so taking us back to the roots of the value of family is so important.
Yes, we are talking about the policy. When I read the Bible, I see there are three institutions of God. There is the church, there is the family, we have the three arms of the government. But the basic and the most important institution is not clearly entrenched in the Constitution.
Post-Cotonou OACP EU Treaty. This is OA is Oceania, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific, with the EU agreement. There was a Cotonou one, which is coming up for renewal or revision because the previous has expired. And in the new one, there's provisions which are really going to be against our family values and all that we are trying to do here. Would there be comments you would make on that?
The third report, 2024. There's need to capture on the economic status of the family in Kenya and what percentage is, poverty, the impact of poverty and the size of poverty in the country, and thereabouts, so that the government can be able to capture its pillar number 6. And also because poverty contributes to a great deal on communicable diseases. So it's one of the things, given the fact that His Excellency's campaign was based on economic empowerment of the very poor, it will be important for us to capture that so that the ministry then can be able to be guided on the aspect of social protection and its policy thereof. The family in this country is highly dysfunctional. A lot of respect for that. That 60% of families in Kenya are led by women, single-parented family. That definition may not be captured. And given the fact that the family, the policy itself, including the law or the amendments that you want to do, must be driven by the family structure itself. Because when government starts controlling certain aspects of the family, that is what we call fascism. So how then do we intend to integrate that dysfunctional family, to take on its reality, number one, and to understand that it needs to fix itself, even outside the religious institutions, because the religious institutions, unfortunately, only drive 20% of the families in Kenya, especially the Christian ones. I'm not sure about the Muslims, but the church impact on family in the country is highly less than 50%, if I know that. So it would be important to know how you intend to meet public participation on the fact that the entire nation must be brought into scope, and how that mobilization will happen from the bottom up. And then the last one is that we will need to do a status update on the performance of the ministry coming here when we're doing the report, so that then we don't keep doing meetings and status reports and then we don't see the progress thereof of what it is that we have discussed. Thank you very much.
When each government comes to power, we have what we call functions of government. Each ministry is given the responsibilities to carry out specific duties. For example, for us now, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, we have two state departments. That's the Labor and Skills Development. Then we have Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs. Within the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizen Affairs, that's where we have the Directorate of Children's Services, the Directorate of Social Development, the Directorate of National Social Protection Secretariat, and the Social Assistance, which deals with the cash transfers. So our mandate, which we have been given by the government, is to tackle issues of children, issues of the family, that's older persons and aging, persons with disabilities, and such like. While the other ministry, we have public service, gender, and I think maybe affirmative action. So we are given specific duties to perform. And our main purpose is to ensure that we give services to the public, not where a certain function falls, so long as the public gets the services that the government has promised to give. Any protocol that the government of Kenya is ready to sign is subjected to public participation. So in that respect, anything that you feel that is, anything that the public will feel that is contrary to the expectation of the public and which is against the Constitution of Kenya will be addressed. On the issue of the economic support, which you are talking about, what KCPF needs to report, and maybe it's a good sign that you know, we are signatories to international conventions. We report, for example, the status of the older persons in Kenya, the status of the child, the status of the persons with disability. This will be a welcome idea, so that annually we are able to report as a country what we have been able to do on issues to do with the family. And as he said earlier, this is the policy. The policy is already out, and we already have the implementation framework. We have also gone ahead to develop the National Parenting Program. In that program, as a ministry, some years back, we enlisted lay volunteer counselors. These are volunteers who have volunteered themselves to assist families, individuals, and groups to address their psychosocial issues. So we are moving towards the right direction. You have seen what the Ministry of Health has done in terms of employing we used to call it public health, they are called health promoters, public health. They were public health volunteers, but now, at least in collaboration with the national government and the county government, they are going to pay them at least some token to ensure that the health issues are addressed. And from our part, we are also struggling to ensure that the lay volunteer counselors can also be incorporated so that they assist us in addressing those social issues within the family setup. Thank you.
I want you to be ready to engage. If you care about the family, if you care about the freedom of faith, if you care about the state of life in this country, you want to get involved in this particular bill. And as particularly this bill is interesting because the bill is actually seeking to amend some very specific clauses in the Constitution. That is clause article number 2, 10, 24, 26, 32, 34, and 260 of the Constitution of Kenya. And I believe that you have a role to play. So I hope that you get engaging. God bless you. Thank you for watching the Gigi Report. Thank you for engaging with us. Please always leave your comments and remember to share with your friends. Welcome back. Same time, same channel. The Gigi Report is something you don't want to miss. God bless you. Keep it elevate. We'll see you another day. Bye for now.